Have you ever had a chance where you are so upset with your child you want to sell them? You shouldn't. Good legal advice. So you don't have to go to askalawyer.com for that piece of legal advice. Selling your child is not legal, just so you know. Okay.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own personal, curated, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, here to comment on the legal issues of the day on a channel we call Criminal Lawyer Reacts. And today we're reacting to Mama Sells Her Baby for $500. What the fuck? Okay, and this is Ewu Body Cam, another channel off of Ewu, and I know we're giving them a lot of love, but we like them.
She said, if you give me $500 right now, you can have. I said, have what? She said, have her. And she put her down in the leaves. What? No.
Here's the thing. If you're out and about, guess what everybody has nowadays? They have one of these. They have a cell phone. And if you're acting the fool, you're going to get recorded. Simple as that.
Never sell my child. And she said, no, I don't need help. I just don't want the bastard.
I don't need help. I just don't want the bastard. You know, it is tough raising a child, whether you have a partner or not. It's tough raising a child alone, whether you have money or not. It's tough raising a child in poverty by yourself. It's depressing, it's taxing, and it can seem hopeless. Why would this woman lie about somebody wanting to sell their child?
My child is my life. I never, ever hurt my baby. And I'm like, is she crazy?
In March 2024, a woman walks into a police station with an 18-month-old girl and a shocking claim. The child's mother tried to sell her own baby.
Sell her own fucking baby. The one thing I have never really gotten used to is, you know, my dad would always say, you know, he was a fireman, and he would say, I never got used to pulling kids out of a burning building. Why is that? That's because we want to protect children, you know, and it's hard for us to see a child suffer. It just is. I remember I was at the mall once and, you know, I was about to call the cops on this woman who was beating her child, and the kid got upset with me and he was just crying, and it's really tough to watch something like that. And it's even tougher to see the abuse. And I haven't had, thank God, I haven't had any like child death cases or, you know, real severe child abuse cases, because I just don't take those.
And when that didn't work, abandoned her entirely. But what sounds like an open and shut case takes a twisted turn when the mother accuses the woman of orchestrating a plot to steal her baby. The following report is based on official police records.
Ooh, the plot thickens. See, this is why you can't judge things at first blush. There have been so many negative comments about me, and I've gotten a couple of nasty emails about about that Carmelo Anthony case. And they're saying like, oh, you know, this is open and shut and blah, blah, blah. And it's mostly from white people that are giving me shit because they think I'm taking the kid's side. You know, I have to, in this channel, one of the things we do is we look at both sides, you know. Did I do a foghorn, leghorn accent when I was imitating some rednecks? Yeah, I certainly did.
I say, hey, dog. Now hold on, boy. I come in peace. I want to bury the hatchet.
But do I also make fun of stupid people and lecture people who are doing gang violence? Absolutely. They do the dumbest fucking things. They put their crimes right on Instagram. Who the fuck does that?
I mean, listen, you literally described the crime scene to a T. Jumped a tall gate, hit a hallway, ran to the fifth floor, came in out of breath, should have seen Glee's face.
I try to look at both sides and come down the middle on something that I think is fair. Now, I started out talking about, you know, this woman, you know, wanted to sell her baby. Well, we don't know that yet, do we? We just know what the woman said, but something tells me she's got it on video.
Records, and most of the footage has never been seen before until now. On the afternoon of March 5th, 2024, a woman comes into the Palatka, Florida Police Department with an 18-month-old baby on her shoulder and an extraordinary story.
To bring her some clothes, diapers over, but we didn't. I was going to wipe her off, but we didn't want to wipe her off in case she had to take pictures of her because she's. Okay. Don't cry, sweetie. Because she don't deserve it.
I'll come. Go in there and I'll come sit with you.
So if this woman is trying to steal her baby, she certainly did the right thing to go to the police department. And if she looks all disheveled and, not okay, doesn't really bode well for the mother, does it?
Well, I'll come sit with you. All right. I called DCF to John, and he's going to be calling me back.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know that this is way outside of what
I'm a mom first.
I understand.
The woman is an employee at H&R Block, and she says she was getting ready to close last night when a client named Jessica came in with her baby daughter.
Both of them had no shoes on. Her and Jessica walked in, and she asked me could I give her a new Emerald card because her taxes had dropped, and she left it somewhere or something happened with it. So I got ready to put her stuff in, and I noticed the baby had took her diaper off. And she was like pointing at her private, like it was irritating her or something. So I was like, oh, maybe it's the diaper, kids get irritated or whatever. And she was like, she's not.
Hard to listen to this, isn't it? When you've got somebody who's mistreating a child.
She's not going to do that because I only have one diaper for her. So she put the diaper back on her. And it wouldn't, you know how the sticky side of the diaper, it wouldn't stick no more. So she hit her. And was like, you just stupid. You should have did that. And I was like, what? So I called the police.
She says she waited until police arrived.
Now, let's just say this woman's telling the truth. Because we don't know yet, but let's just say she is. I commend her for stepping in. If you see something like this, step in. Too many times we just kind of are passive and we don't want to get involved. That happens all the time. It happens with homicides quite a bit. People don't want to get involved. I've had homicides where I had exonerating witnesses. I'm not coming to court. When you're dealing with children, you have to step in.
Arrived and then went home for the night, unaware that her involvement with this woman was far from over.
This morning I came 7 a.m. The mom, Jessica, was laying on the AC unit. And she was in a Dollar General's buggy. And it was drizzling. She was asleep and the baby was in there hollering. Well, I said, do you need help? Do you need me to call DCF so they can help you? And she said, no, don't worry about it. And she snatched her daughter out the top part and left her in the bottom part.
The woman says that Jessica left at that point. Not long after, someone at a nearby restaurant calls the police to complain about a woman and her baby walking around asking for food. The responding officer finds Jessica inside, annoyed that someone reported her.
Because they were worried about the baby.
Because she's throwing a tantrum.
No, well, more they wanted to make sure the baby was okay and that you were okay.
I'm fine. I'm trying to find emergency housing.
So what's the situation?
We're supposed to be the children's protectors. My children never had to worry about anything in terms of food, clothing, shelter. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know what that is? You can't get to the next level of actualization if your basic needs aren't met. And what I mean by that is you have a sense of self, so you have to have your basic needs met before you can get to the next level of, they call it self-actualization, and being the most of the person that you can be, right? And if you're on the street and you're looking for food and shelter, that's all you're thinking about. You can't enjoy life. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is also fueled probably by drugs too. I mean, it's just so sad.
What are you going through right now?
I'm going through a lot.
As far as housing, why are you looking for emergency housing?
Because I had a boyfriend who used to beat the out of me and I don't want it around my kid.
Okay.
If you can please help me in any way.
Well, okay, so I've got our victim's advocate coming out. She's going to talk to you. She's going to bring some stuff for the baby.
Where?
She'll be coming over here.
Just because the baby cries doesn't mean that they're in trouble. No. I'm sure you have kids.
I do. I have a son and a stepdaughter.
I can't even believe this. Is that rescue for my child?
No. They're going to a different call.
The victim's advocate arrives with her assistants, but Jessica is wary of their motives.
Y'all making me feel great.
Well, once child protection is involved, if you're walking on the street with a child, you can't protect that child. So guess what? Child protection comes in and they'll say, we're going to put the child in foster care until you can figure your shit out. And then they usually file a petition with the court.
This is the victim's advocate that told you I had come.
No, y'all really making me feel hurt, and I got 4 y'all.
No, we have a bunch of stuff for you and the baby.
Jessica settles enough to accept the help these women have brought for her, but she doesn't let her guard down entirely.
It's just right now, I'm needing a place to stay. She thinks y'all are probably trying to take her away from her. No, I'm not taking her away from mommy.
But Jessica does wind up separated from her daughter, and according to the woman at the police station, it happened later that day.
She came back to our job. At this point, she's yelling at the customers in there to give her money. I said, ma'am, you gotta leave. Like you have to leave now. She said, oh, I'm not leaving. And then she went, took her in the bathroom. When she left out of there, I called the police. And she literally pushed the buggy in the road and laughed about it. And then hurry up and grabbed it. And I'm like, is she crazy?
She says that although she gave the officer details about Jessica's behavior, she was told that it would come down to her word against the mother's, but it wouldn't be long before Jessica would return yet again, and this time she would come with a shocking offer.
She came back. I see her walking back towards our job, and she said, come here, because I trust you, come here. So I'm like, oh my God. I asked 2 of my coworkers to walk out with me because I don't know what's in somebody's mind. And as I walked over there, she said, if you give me $500 right now, you can have it.
If you give me $500 right now, you can have my child. That's not a rational person. Before we get to that, this is brought to you by AskALawyer.com. AskALawyer.com is a very easy way and inexpensive way to talk to a real, live, licensed lawyer. And why is that important? You know how many times I get fielded calls all the time, and I don't always have the time or expertise in the particular field. Like if somebody calls me for a landlord-tenant, I don't know shit about landlord-tenant law because I don't do that. Call me about a homicide, I got you. I got you on a homicide. Call me on a major RICO conspiracy drug case, gotcha. I'm your guy. Call me on a high-profile products liability case that's worth multi-million dollars, I'm your guy. But on average questions about anything like landlord-tenant, a contract dispute, you go to somebody who's got the knowledge, and that's AskALawyer.com. So go to AskALawyer.com. They have got lawyers on standby. It's $49, so it's not that much money. And then they also have an AI component where they've trained all the laws from all the states and federal laws so you can research your own stuff. So go to AskALawyer.com. I know we're not really including Grandma in this because Grandma and I aren't speaking. She's been very naughty in her basement. I'm not going to tell you what she's doing right now, but let's just say her Cheeto underwears are very Cheeto stained. But, walking around with that kid on your arm and, not having anywhere to go and being hungry and broke and, it's just is what it is. It's just awful. Love the nails, though.
I said, have what? She said, have her. And she put her down in the leaves. And I said, are you serious? At this time, the baby got up and she was getting ready to walk in the road. And I grabbed the baby and I picked her up and I said, I'm not giving you no money. She said, well, just have her because it's just too much for me.
The woman's account nearly defies belief, but when the police speak to Jessica a couple of days later, they hear a story that could turn the entire case upside down.
I went and filed my taxes at H&R Block. While I was there, one of the members of my church filed my taxes for me. She asked me if she could keep my daughter overnight. She said she wanted to buy her some clothes. She knew I just got out of an abusive marriage, and I'm trying to get back on my feet.
And this was Monday or Tuesday?
No, she's only been gone for 2 days. Only 2 days.
Okay. Well, today is Thursday, so that would have make it, what, Tuesday night? Tuesday night. You tell me approximately what time?
About 7.
7 o'clock?
Yeah.
7 p.m.?
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Okay.
Jessica says that although she was reluctant at first, she ultimately agreed to hand her daughter over for the night.
Who the fuck would let you hand your daughter over to a perfect stranger? Would you? Oh, maybe you would if it was Casey Anthony. I hear she's doing daycare now. I'm joking. It's a joke.
I allowed her to take Gigi, and about an hour after that, I got a knock at the door from the police saying that I was banned from H&R Block. So I sent a text message, And I said, if you not produce my child, I'm going to call the police.
What's this worker that you go to church with? What's her name?
Her name's Crystal, but she's the black girl with the pink hair.
Jessica paints herself as a caring mother who was tricked into giving up her baby, which is a far cry from the story police heard at the station.
Nobody could trick me to give up my child. Nobody. I mean, give me a fucking break. I mean, my child went to college in Jackie. She goes to college in D.C. You think I like that? No. I want my child right here. But as a baby, I mean, little fucking kid, 2 years old or however old. This kid looks older than just a baby, but you're going to give up your kid to a perfect stranger? I don't care how desperate your situation is. You know, unless you're just so fucking whacked out on drugs or whatever that you just can't care for your baby. People give up their kids all the time. Me personally, I would never be away from my child.
I said, do you need help? Again, I'm asking you, do you need help? And she said, no, I don't need help. I just don't want the bastard. And I said, okay. And I got the baby. I was crying. I walked across the streets and I tried to wake her up. And I put her in my car and I told her she is going to be okay.
That's the voice of a mother, right? I mean, you mothers out there, you know that feeling when you see a child mistreated. Mothers have a different thing, you know, because they carry their baby for, 9 months and they have a relationship with it almost a year before us men do. And it doesn't become real for us until we see the top of the head, quite frankly. But mothers have this innate motherly instinct, and that's what you're sensing here. But this is highly criminal for her to try to sell the baby.
Should not go on with a child.
You don't remember having a conversation about trying to sell Giovanni?
What?
I'm just...
No.
She have handcuffs on? She's in custody, remember? And she better have been Mirandized just before you start questioning. If you're in custody, you have to have the conversation. You have the right to a lawyer, that kind of thing. And any lawyer can and will be provided for you if you can't afford one, present during all questioning, that kind of stuff. So she's definitely in custody because she's got cuffs on.
No. Okay. I would never sell my child.
Okay.
No. I can't even believe that was even stated. My child is my life.
Not only is Jessica's story completely different, she tells the detectives that she knows exactly what's going on here.
To be honest with you, my sister, me and her have a very bad relationship. She has wanted my child. She's told lies to my entire family. I believe she sent Crystal to do that on purpose because she laughed yesterday in my face and told me I was going to be in jail. So they said this up. Sounds petty, but it's true.
I mean, what would...
That sounds like BS.
What would be the reasoning they would do that?
Same reason she husband. She's spiteful.
At the police station, the woman does express an interest in keeping the child, though it doesn't seem to come from a place of malice.
So would DCF let me take her home?
Probably not, but
I just don't want her to have to go through no system.
absolutely not. There might be a way. He might have to come out and look at your house, or he might. So we'll figure something out.
But as far as Jessica's concerned, there's no reason why her daughter can't be with her.
You know I don't deserve to be in jail for this. I never, ever hurt my baby.
If you see her here...
Even if, let's just say, even if there isn't this thing, there is a matter of neglect. But neglect and poverty, it's got to be a little more intentional than that. If she's homeless and walking the streets and they get her some help, that's one thing. But intentionally hitting the child and disciplining the child for what, a diaper? For pulling her diaper off? That can be either malicious punishment of a child or child neglect, not providing for your child. I think I told you about one where we had my office partner and I had a couple who adopted a child from Africa, and they had three other children, and they treated her so differently. She was in second grade, and she basically weighed the same as a toddler. She just wouldn't feed the child, and would withhold food if the child misbehaved. You can't do that. And so I said I didn't have any child abuse cases. I guess I did have that one, and they wound up pleading guilty, and we, arranged to have it handled a certain way. But fuck, I just hate these cases, to be honest with you.
If you see her head, she hit her. It's right here.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
She elbowed her last night.
So that was from last night?
Oh, you can see it good now. It's swole all right here. The bruise. She got dirt all in her nose.
I'm an RN. I can't lose my child or my license.
Jessica was a licensed practical nurse, but her license was put on probationary status a year prior when she failed to notify the Board of Nursing that she pled no contest to a disorderly conduct charge. But the detectives are only concerned about Jessica's current story, which seems...
If you're an LPN, you can make some decent money. And even if you're on restricted status, you're still a licensed nurse. So what the hell? Why don't you have a job? I could go on and on about stories about people not providing for their children. That to me is just sacrosanct.
to have a couple of significant problems.
I allowed her to take Gigi, and about an hour after that, I got a knock at the door from the police saying that I was banned from H&R Block.
Jessica's stated timeline would put this at approximately 8 p.m. However, the detectives know that she was banned from H&R Block at 11:30 in the morning.
She asked me if she could keep my daughter overnight. Okay,
that would have made it, what, Tuesday night? Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Jessica says that Crystal took custody of the baby on Tuesday night, which would have been impossible given that the baby was sitting in the police department on Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, and what's the worker that you go to church with? What's her name?
Her name's Crystal.
But there's no one at H&R Block by the name of Crystal. The woman who brought her baby to the police station is named Anita, and she says that she only knows Jessica as a client.
Are y'all gonna let me go?
So when you got a she said case, and she is giving you all kinds of information that is not corroborated, and in fact is provably false, guess who wins the day on that?
No, man. No, there is a warrant for your arrest.
I'm saying, but like...
I mean, you are under arrest.
In February 2025, Jessica Woods pled no contest to her charges and was convicted of 6 crimes against her child.
So let's see, what are those 6 crimes? Illegally placing a child for adoption, unlawful desertion of a child, aggravated child abuse, and neglect of a child. Honestly, I cannot tell you how unsympathetic this person is. You know, when you go in front of a judge and you have mistreated a child, you know, torture and abuse and neglect are things that are not tolerated by the court very easily. I just had a bad case where my client choked his girlfriend and did all kinds of stuff, or was accused of it and ultimately convicted of it, and he took off. I mean, he didn't show up for his last day of trial, but we continued it anyway. I know that the judge, if he has ever picked up on a warrant, is going to really nail him, and the judge is going to probably give him the statutory max. Somebody like this, you know, a judge might be persuaded that this is a product of poverty and homelessness, but still, you know, there are so many resources out there for people. Number one, if you're watching this, you probably have a phone. If you have a phone, you probably have internet access if you're watching this. If you have internet access, you can get on Indeed, you can get on all kinds of job-seeking websites. If you have this and you have internet access, you can also figure out a shelter to go to. So and there's no shame in that. And I don't want you to think for one second that people falling on hard times is something that I'm saying is criminal, because it's not. That's not criminal. But being fed up with your child and trying to sell your kid to Crystal or Anita or, you know, whoever, it's hard. You never see, oh, I've seen it all now. We're always getting new and crazy things because people are just that crazy.
Including unlawful desertion and illegally placing a child for adoption. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 10 years of probation. According to the Palatka Police Department, her daughter has been placed in foster care.
So here's what happens with that. Then, you know, it's called CHIPS, Child in Need of Protective Services. The county will then move for termination of the parental rights. That's what'll happen with her if it hasn't happened already. So then she will not have rights to that child going forward. She can't parent the child from prison, and if they terminate her rights, then the child will be adopted probably by that lady or by somebody, and hopefully have a more stable, protected, warm, well-nourished environment. Ugh! Drives me fucking crazy to watch things about children, because as a society, don't we owe a debt to our children? You know, I mean, they're a privilege to have. I can't tell you how many great times I coached Michael all through growing up, baseball, you know, and I just had a blast doing that. You know, Jackie, you know, taught her how to ski. She's taught me how to hike. You know, there's just so many good things that can happen with children. Now, granted, I'm not homeless and I'm not in poverty. But guess what? If you're a fucking licensed nurse, you've got some smarts. If you have some smarts, you can get help. Something tells me this is more than just poverty. There's probably drugs involved. I'm just guessing. So that's our little episode about Mother of the Year trying to sell her baby for $500. And I hope you don't do that at home. Don't sell your children, because you know what? They might have to wipe your bum as you get older. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Make sure you go to clrbrucerivers.com for all your merch needs, your hats and hoodies and all the goodies. And make sure you go to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon and become a paid member. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is at my God.